Hey guys, today we're going to talk about a short-lived camera from the late 40s to mid-60s, also known as the Argus 75. The Argus 75 is a cross between a TLR, or twin lens reflex, and a toy camera. It was marketed for beginner camera users, and you can see this from its design. It has no focusing ring, no aperture adjustment, no light meter, as well as a simplified instant shutter release or bulb shutter release. The Argus 75 was intended to use 620 film, which is essentially 120 film with a slightly different spool. I've modified my Argus to accept 120 film much more easily than to simply jam the larger spool in the back. We're going to switch views and I'll give you a close-up of the camera as well as the adjustments I have made, and hopefully you can apply it to your camera. And here's the close-up of the Argus. Immediately you'll notice the twin lens, the viewing lens, and the photo-taking lens, but again they aren't coupled. This is why it's a toy-like TLR and not quite a real one. Over here we have the film advance knob. Now that the film is advanced, it's showing us that it's ready to be taken with a red indicator. We go over here to the shutter. It turns black, showing us that it needs to be wound for the next shot. Here we are, red, it's ready. We're going to switch the shutter to bulb, and this will stay open as long as I depress it. Wind it again, there's the red indicator. If we look up at the top, we see the waist level viewfinder hood. You'd put this at about waist level, and you'll be able to compose your shot properly. We can close that for now. Here we have the film window. This will show you what film you have. This will show you what shot you're on. Now I don't actually have it, but if I did, this is where the flash would mount. So that's basically the overall rundown of the Argus 75. Next we're going to talk about the difference between the 620 and the 120 spool and how I modified this one. Now we're going to talk about the differences between the 120 roll and the 620 roll. First, let's look at the 620. You'll notice that this one is actually metal, unlike the 120, which is plastic. Depending on how familiar you are with 120 rolls, you can tell that this is already much thinner. If we compare, you notice the diameter is actually quite similar. This is because I had trimmed mine with scissors to allow it not to bind. This is done pretty easily. When you do this, take your time so you don't want to cut yourself or the actual film. You can get it pretty close to the original 620 diameter. But when we compare the height, you'll see that the 120 roll is actually quite taller. This is why, again, I had modified mine to allow for more space and less potential binding or tearing of the film. I had also cut with my rotary tool these little grooves on either side. I don't think this was necessary, but I felt this was a little easier for use. Now we're going to open it up. You pull right on this lever right here, and this whole back door swings open. Now you can see here where the film actually comes out at when you're finished. Again, use 620 film, but we don't want that, so we're going to use 120 film. Here's the photo taking area here. Here's your film window. And here we have this. You can see the film pins here I had flattened. This allowed me a little bit more room this way, as well as when the film roll is in, they lay flatter against the wall, allowing me more space for the taller 120 roll. You can see the little etches here. This is again from my rotary tool. I had ground down a lot of the excess metal to prevent the binding of the film. It was very tight on mine, and I didn't want to risk it, so I figured this causes no damage to the picture taking elements. So again, I ground that down, and it allowed me to fit the 120 roll. Let's actually try to fit it in here so you can see a little better. Try it with two hands. And there we have it. See if we can get a close up. Since we trimmed the diameter of the roll, it can actually spin fairly free. Now again, if I had taken more time to rough out some of these edges, it wouldn't be so clunky. And if there had actually been film on here, you would see that it was binding quite terribly here. Again, this is why I ground that metal down. You would pull the film over here and into the next spool. Close the back, wind it. Shot 1, indicator is ready, it's on instant. You take the shot. Well, that's the rundown of the camera as well as the modifications I've done. The next time you'll see me, I will hopefully have had this roll developed, and hopefully the photos are good as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for the photos. And we're back from the local film lab. First, I'd like to say how pleased I am with the shots. The camera performed better than I initially expected, and I definitely use it again. Now I'm going to show some sample images shot with Kodak Portra 400. You be the judge and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.